right, a couple quick just roster notes before I hand it off to Coach. We got youngest team statistically in Memphis soccer history. 1 senior, 2 juniors, 11 sophomores, and 14 freshmen. It's the first time since 2013 they had 1 senior. It's the only other time they've had that. First time having less than 5 upperclassmen ever. So with that, I'll turn it over to the man going into his 26th year, Brooks Monaghan.
Yeah. Evening, fellas.
Yeah,
And
man,
like I
we'll
said, young lady.
Go right into questions.
Yeah.
Coach, you're on vacation when they did the first part of the demo to the grandstand. What was it like walking over here? I'm sure it's one of the first things you did when you came back off vacation was come over here and take a look at the what demo they had done. What was the feeling just that this is now happening? I can see it physically.
Well, I had a plan. My plan was to get a lounge chair, cooler beer, sit in the middle of that field and watch it all take place. But unfortunately, like you said, I was on vacation, so I had everybody from Winston to the grounds crew sending me photos, videos, everything. But it was, I'm not gonna lie, a pretty special moment. I sent Dr. Scott actually a text message that said, you know, some people see this as a load of, you know, a pile of rubble. I see it as a Picasso, and you know, we got a good laugh out of that. But no, it's you know, it's obviously something that we've been, you know, wishful thinking for a long time, and you know, to see it really take shape is pretty special.
Coach, the last several years you've had a lot of quality senior leadership, upperclassmen leadership on the team. Now with such one of the youngest squads in team history, how does the dynamic change?
I don't think the dynamic really changes. You know, we just happen to have two kids that will be our captains in Finley Lavin and Ashley Henderson. And you know, I haven't been this excited for captains in a long time. It's not to knock anybody in the last few years, but I think, you know, you've got 2 very different individuals that bring different things, but I think, you know, when you bring them together, they really check all the boxes that we're looking for, and you know, from a leadership standpoint, I think it makes it easy for the rest of the team because all they need to do is follow those guys.
In terms of how last season went, is there motivation because missing the tournament, it's become such a regular thing at this program?
Yeah, you know, I mean, obviously last year was tough, especially with our record not getting in. So I mean, I think obviously we hold this program to a very high standard, and you know, expect to win expect to win championships, expect to play in NCAA tournaments. That doesn't just happen, right? You know, it takes a lot of things, but I think just a little bit of extra motivation, and again, you know, like Winston was saying, you know, this is the youngest team. You know, we've got a lot of work to do before we can get there. We did have a very good spring. We had a lot of young kids that didn't play a lot of minutes last year really step up and do some great things in the spring, and that's what every coach wants to see. I mean, you want to be able to develop your players, and you know, we witnessed that. So a lot of excitement, but a lot of work to do between now and tomorrow, even, to be honest with you.
Coach, you mentioned your 2 captains kind of are contrasting personalities, but how are they different? What do they each bring to the table?
Oh man, they, you know, Finley, you know, she is, you know, not that she's not a leader on the field, she is, but off the field, you know, I feel that she's kind of the leader, and on the field, I mean, Ashley just brings that hunger that it doesn't matter what sport, the hate to lose mentality and just whatever it takes to win, you know, and so there's a lot of things that I look for in leaders, and honestly, I describe it as a big box with a lot of little boxes inside that box. And some years we've had, you know, 5 captains because it takes that many people to check all those boxes. But with those 2, I feel like we are checking, you know, all the right boxes.
And to kind of follow up, with having such a young team, does that change how you have to approach things? Are you doing more teaching this year, more, you know, kind of stuff you don't have to do with a veteran team?
Yeah, I think when, you know, every year is a new year. And to be honest, guys, you know, you realize that you kind of do have to start over in certain areas, right? But with us having 14 newcomers, you know, and a roster size of 28, then we are, you know, you hate to say starting from scratch, but when it comes to teaching, you know, it's, you really do have to start over. And obviously we got an exhibition game coming up here in a few days, and, you know, everybody does things differently, but we're going to focus on certain things and not worry about other things. So, we probably won't be our best at our first exhibition, but yeah, definitely a lot of teaching to do with this young group.
Are there other players who have stood out so far that maybe people should know about that they don't know about yet?
Yeah, I mean, Evelyn McKay, right? She's one that, had a tremendous spring. I knew, and we brought her in last year. She's a center back, right? But we had Finley and a senior, right, in front of her. And it was just one of those that you're like, hey, be patient, your time will come. And literally, she didn't play until the conference final, right, because we had an injury. And then this spring, when she finally got her chance, I mean, she just took off, right? And so, very excited about her. I mean, you guys remember Ai Kitagawa, right? Center mid for us, Japanese girl. Obviously, she's a returner. She's an old player for us because she's a sophomore. But, those are two that stick out. Elise Perrone, she got some minutes last year, but really took a big step in the spring. And there's several others.
How key is it, even though you've got so many new players and even some of your veterans are, like you said, maybe just sophomores this year, but how key is it, especially like tonight and in the next couple of days, and maybe they already have, to establish with the newcomers that this is the standard and we don't have a lot of time to work into the standard. You've got to get it right now.
Yeah, and they saw a little bit of that this morning, right? This morning was one of our fitness tests, and it's a grueling kind of, yes, it's fitness based, but it's guts, right? I mean, anybody that does it wants to quit, and I don't want to say that it wasn't successful. It was very successful, but some of those first year kids got a true taste of what it's like to play at Memphis, and we had a great discussion after that. But all these kids that we bring in, they're what happens is they're the top kid on their club team or one of the top kids, but as each level you step up, it gets a little bit harder and you've got to adjust. So a lot of these kids, they I'm not saying they haven't worked hard. They've worked very hard to get where they are, but now it's time to, lift it a notch.
Saying that with a young team, you're one of the deals you've had, and people know it, is, and you've talked about and Ashley and Finley, that if a freshman can get on the field, they can play significant minutes. All three of them played significant minutes with significant starts their freshman year, so there's that opportunity. If you show it, you can get out there.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, best players are going to play. And with this team, if we just evaluated last spring, right, we felt that, and I shared this with the girls, we have 8 players that I feel are ready to compete for a championship. Well, it takes 11 on the field, right? And obviously you need some subs with that too. So we do need some of these youngsters to come in and play right away. We really, really do. But, and it's also the other piece to this, I've been doing this for a long time. It's, way back when, we used to show up last night, everybody got in town, and then we started preseason, and now we bring the girls in for summer school so they get to work out together and spend time together, which is huge, right? But unfortunately, we're still missing 3 of our, on paper, top recruits, right? They're all internationals. One's from Germany and 2 are from Japan that we're really counting on. I don't want to give them too much credit yet because they've got to earn that, but just with the world we live in and getting visas and stuff, the good news is the German kid gets here Thursday, and the Japanese young ladies, they got their visa appointments on the 31st, so hopefully they'll be joining us soon. So that's something that's different for me, because normally we have everybody beginning of July, and now we're going to have to integrate these 3 players later than normal. So,
with obviously I'm going to ask you about the rev share stuff now that it's past July 1st. Just what are those conversations like with Dr. Scott, and then where do you feel like you guys are in terms of the conference?
Yeah, I mean, going into all this, you guys, obviously you're around sports, and it's constantly changing, and when all this was happening, and just as a coach, you just want to be able to compete. And in years past, obviously we've shown we can compete by making a couple, back-to-back Sweet 16. So there was a lot of concern. Ed was new, right? And but I can say that he has been nothing but supportive. And when women's soccer is not like football or basketball. When we measure up against other women's programs, I can definitely say that, you know, Dr. Scott has definitely taken care of us where we feel we can still compete at the highest level. And that's what's the most important, because not every school out there is getting the support we are. And there are plenty of Power 4 schools that aren't getting the support that we are. So I'm very appreciative of that. And, you know, hopefully we can continue to compete at the level that we've been able to the last, you know, several years.
You mentioned Power 4 schools. You got a lot of them on your non-conference schedule this year. How excited should fans be for teams like Tennessee, Ole Miss, Vanderbilt, Missouri, Ole Miss?
Yeah, and you know, you guys know we always play a pretty tough schedule and play a lot of those teams. But this year just happens to be a special year where, you know, we're hosting those teams. So it's pretty exciting. I mean, you know, we've had a lot of success at home. Hopefully that will continue when we play these teams. But I think it is exciting, you know, for the soccer community here in town to come out and watch some, you know, definitely quality soccer.